Salve Regina, Mater Misericordiae.
Chanting musical notation. And this is where we're going on to our sheet where we have the 4 lines. And I've given an example here of the Salve Regina. And it may be a different Salve Regina from the one that you're familiar with. This is the Dominican Salve Regina. Okay? Now, notice that this only has 4 lines. Today in our music we normally have 5 lines, this only has 4. What I'm going to do is explain how to use this and how to sing with it. Now the beauty of this notation is that it is key independent. So the singer can choose what key they're going to sing it in. You can use the same music and choose whatever key that is appropriate for the singers. And it also means that you don't use a musical instrument to help you to find the starting note. You just choose whatever starting note you like. Who's familiar with solfege? Please raise your hand if you're familiar with solfege. Okay. Okay, would you like to explain what solfege is? Or just say, what are the 8 tones of solfege?
Do, re, mi, fa, sol, la, ti, do.
So, do, re, mi, fa, sol, la, ti, do. So, if we're doing the key of C, thank you. Do, re, mi, fa, sol, la, ti, do, ti, la, sol, fa, mi, re, do. Okay, so that's solfege. Okay, so this lends itself very well to solfege. So if you're familiar with that, then this will work for you as well. So let's just have a look at this. Now you notice Salve Regina, Mater Misericordiae. At the top of the beginning of each line, there's a symbol, and it's just 2 dots. It's like a bracket. You can't really see it all that clearly on the first line. But on the second line, right at the beginning of the line, so it's before the words themselves, you see like 2 dots. Okay? That indicates where do is. That's your tone. That's your tonic. That's your tonic note. Okay? So does everyone see that?
Yeah.
Okay, so that's the tonic. And so that can be in whatever key we want to. So if we, for example, we want to sing it in C, then we can say, okay, let's do this in C, and that will be our tonic. And then where we start then is we just count down. So the very first note of the Salve starts 2 notes down. So, do, ti, la. So that's going to start on La. Salve. Okay? So it's going La, sol, la, re. Okay? So 6, 5, 6, 2. Okay? If you're more familiar with 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Okay? So that's the key. Okay? So this kind of predates the whole concept of major and minor keys. The major and minor keys system came in, I think it was 19th or 18th century, but this is earlier than this, where everything is in terms of modes. We talk about modes. So you may have heard of Dorian mode, for example. So something isn't in a particular major or minor key, it's just in a mode. And then there'll be accidentals thrown in. Like we'll see an accidental, there are not many, but on the word misericordiae, you'll see a flat symbol on one of those notes. So it's about 7th line down. That's a flat symbol, which is the same as the flat symbols that we're familiar with in our normal music. And that just means it comes down a semitone. Okay? Same as we do already in modern day. But there are no sharps. Okay? You don't need sharps, because all a sharp does is go up a semitone. So instead of doing a sharp, we just go down a semitone instead. Now there are certain names that are given to all of these different symbols. So where you see Salve, that is called a parectus, where we see that sort of joining up symbol together. on the salve. And the salve, the sal, is actually 2 notes. So we've got the first note. The notes themselves are called punctums. Okay, so every dot that you can see, most of the dots are punctums. So the sa is a punctum, but then without have a correctus, and so then we are actually, it looks like we're repeating sa, but it's, instead of repeating it, we're actually making it longer. So the sa is longer than the rest of the syllables. So that's why we go salve. So notice the sa is actually longer. Okay. And then again, it happens on the re of Regina. You actually see 2 punctums there. Actually, the second one is not a punctum, it's a clivis, because it's got a little tail on it. But it actually is the same as a punctum. So, Regina. So the re is actually longer, because it's 2 punctums together on the same note. So we don't repeat them, we don't go re, we go re, just double the length. Regina. Now the G, notice it has a tail on the right hand side of the note. That's called a virga, but it's actually the same as a punctum as well. Okay, so it's just another symbol for portraying the same thing. Now, at the beginning of the second line, I'll come on to that. Let's sing through. Salve Regina, Mater Misericordiae. Now, notice on cor, we actually went up. We started at the bottom and we went up. We sang both notes. But when you see both notes, 2 notes on top of each other, vertically, you start at the bottom and work your way up. So, ko. That's called a podatus. Okay? Mater misericordiae. Okay, so that's a podatus. Now we have some pauses as well. The pauses are just a vertical line. So we can see one after the word Regina and before Mater. It's just a vertical line. It's a very brief pause. And when you see a double line, that's a longer pause. So after the word salve, there's a double line, so it's a longer pause. And then there's a very short pause after the vita on the second line. Okay, so it's just a very short vertical line. So that's a very short pause. Some other things that we can see in there. On the third line, on the ad, you'll see a very small dot above the second note, above the second punctum. That's called an epiphonus, which is a very short incidental note. It's hardly there, but we sing it very briefly and then move on. Ate clamamus, ate. So you know the third on ate. We sing it, but we move very quickly on. Ate clamamus, and then we see another podatus on the. It's on the A. Say 2 notes above each other. And that's pretty much it. So now that moves us on very naturally into Latin pronunciation. But on the sheets that I've given you, the handout for Gregorian chant notation is everything I've just explained and a lot more as well. So I'll leave you to take that home and to read it.